Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Happy New Year! It's a new year, new things are coming along, and I'm really happy to welcome you to my channel in 2022. I decided that this year I'll try to diversify the content on my channel. I will keep talking about the medical device industry. I will keep talking about the regulatory rules for medical devices in Canada, but I also will talk more about business in Canada, how to set up the business, how to start business, what is it like to be a self-employed in Canada. So if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please hit that button below and subscribe to it so you don't miss those videos. And if you have already subscribed, stay tuned. I will record more videos for you and hopefully you'll find some use for them and they will be helpful to you. Today I will be talking about the differences between being self-employed versus employee in Canada. This topic actually came up in a few conversations that I had with students, and I think just based on my personal career path, it just happened to be that I've been in both situations in my industry, and I can actually tell you the differences and I can tell you the advantages and disadvantages of both. And if you are interested in starting your own business, or maybe you are considering to be a freelancer, or you want to take on some projects as a subcontractor, I think this information can be helpful for you because it's not only related to the medical device industry or to medical sales. It's quite broad in terms of the application, and if you're interested to learn more and you're interested to learn from my experience, because I'm sharing solely my experience, my knowledge, what I've done in the last 10 years, keep watching this video. Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's discuss some advantages and disadvantages of being self-employed versus an employee of the company. Things first. Being employed means that you are being hired for a specific role in the company and you're being presented with an offer letter which states your salary, your benefits, any other perks that are included in your overall payment package, and you know exactly what you're doing and what is your pay structure. That's what it means to be an employee. If you are self-employed, you usually sign a contract. And by the way, that's a common question. Is there a difference between self-employed, contractor, subcontractor? Technically, there is none, because contractors and subcontractors are self-employed people. It's just the way how their contracts are being structured. For example, if you're a contractor, usually you are being brought to a project and you have the main contract on the job that needs to be done, and you can sign multiple contracts with subcontractors where those people or those companies only work on the part of that project, on a specific work for that project. So that's the only difference, but all of them are self-employed anyway. So if a self-employed person, you would have a contract that states either your pay per project or pay per month, depending on what it is and how it's been structured. And that contract is a legal binding contract, which states and lists all your responsibilities, all your liabilities, and the same goes to the company that gives you the contract. Same idea, their responsibilities, their liabilities, and the paid structure. So those are the two differences. So now we talk about the pluses of employees, because I think employment in general is more common, more familiar term for everyone. So is one of the general pluses of being employed by the company is I think it's a little bit more secured way of employment, because as I mentioned before, you have that specific description of your job, how much money you are making, and it's not that easy just to let someone go if you're employed by the company. They have to have a good reason to let you go, and even if they're letting you go, they usually need to compensate you for the loss of employment. When you are a self-employed person, and depending on capacity, if you have an existing contract, main contract, usually it can be also very secured because the contract has all the terms, the length of the contract, the payouts in all types of scenarios, when even if you lose the contract, what needs to be paid to you as a compensation. But if you are a freelancer, or if you are taking on multiple projects, but your contracts are not long-term, I think it's a little bit less secured way of work, because you don't know sometimes if you will have that contract next year or next month. Another plus of being employed kind of comes with the first point, is that you know exactly how much money you are making per month, per year. It's a set number, so it's easier for you to plan. Versus when you're self-employed, there's no guarantee, there is no set amount, unless again it's a long-term contract and you have some sort of obligatory payments based on contract. Then maybe you can plan a bit more. But if you're self-employed and you have multiple contracts happening, sometimes you do not know how much money you will make at the end of the day. Another plus of being employed is actually having all the benefits and healthcare expenses covered by the company. Another thing to think about when you're employed by the company, in the context of medical sales, many expenses are being covered by the company, which is a standard thing, is car expenses, fuel expenses, and some of the and travel expenses, which is great because you can travel and company covers it because it's part of the business operation of the company. When you're self-employed, all the expenses when it comes to business operations, they all lie on you. So you need to make sure you know and account for your travel, for car, for fuel, etc. So when you sign the contract or when you put your business plan together as a self-employed person, you need to make sure you can afford and it makes sense for you to work for companies or your main customers, and they can pay you enough so you can cover those costs or expenses. So basically, based on what I just described, you probably are thinking, so what is the point of being self-employed then? It seems like being an employee makes so much sense and it's such a great deal, right? It is. But the point of this video is actually to tell you also the realistic outlook on the other side of being self-employed. Yes, it is more risky. Yes, you need to plan better. Yes, you need to calculate your expenses and cost of running your own business. But you also have pluses of being self-employed. So let's say the first plus that I'd like to mention is that you are not limited to only one contract or one specific company. You can actually grow your business and you can take on multiple contracts and you can have multiple businesses in parallel, which gives you more flexibility. While when you are employed by someone, and if your company hires you, especially on good positions, highly paid positions, they expect 100% of your time committed to the company, into the job that you are doing. If you are a business owner, if you are self-employed, you can potentially grow your business through just adding more contracts, and you can even start hiring more people to handle more contracts as your business grows, right? So I think that's a plus. Second plus is, in my view, is the tax rules for self-employed people, because you will be in charge of your taxation. Some people don't like doing that. I do like being in control of my taxes and know what I'm paying and how I'm paying it. If you are self-employed, you can use some benefits that government gives to small businesses for taxation purposes, which means that they're trying to help small businesses to grow, and you give you opportunity to pay less taxes in some cases, and you can actually use some of your expenses and cost of your business. You can deduct them from your taxable amount of money that you're making, which makes sense for some businesses. And that's not something you can do if you are an employee of the company. Because if you are an employee, company pays taxes for you. You don't have to do anything about it. Number 3, as a plus for being self-employed, you actually can have, again, flexibility in terms of how you set it up. If you're a freelancer or you only work with one company and you just sign a contract with them and you run as a small business, you can stay in the category of sole proprietor. But if you grow and you can actually expand your business and you have multiple contracts, multiple customers, you can actually start a corporation, which is a totally different area of conversation, and I'll make a video about it in the future as well. But when you become a corporation, that's a totally different entity, and you are no longer a person. You're now being treated as a business, as a corporation, and there are a number of rules that come with it. And it can be beneficial, again, for tax purposes, for your own pay purposes. You also can track your revenue now, and you're building the assets inside of your company. So I think that's also a plus, which is not even possible when you work for a company as an employee. Another plus that you have with being self-employed is obviously the flexibility of time, schedule, and resource allocation, because everything is in your hands, because you're self-employed and it's your responsibility to allocate resources. While when you're part of the corporation, if you're employed, that's been done for you. So you're given the time you need to work within, or schedules, or resource allocation. It can be a good thing too. I'm not saying it's a negative thing. It's just a different approach, a different way, and it works for some businesses and it doesn't work for others. And it works for some people and it doesn't work for other people. It's a personal preference, and I guess the level of comfort that you have being in control of all of it and being that flexible. And last benefit that I want to mention with being self-employed is unlimited earning potential. Because if you are self-employed and you structure your business in the way that I just described, and if you grow your business over time, and if you start hiring people and you set up a corporation and it just all grows and you can actually add more and more and more customers at the time, your earning potential is unlimited. Versus when you're an employee of the company, depending on the role, depending on pay, it's usually set, you usually have set limits for a certain position, certain title. You only have this bracket of pay, and you cannot really go higher than that, or rarely can go higher than that, or you'll have to go and switch companies to change your pay. So your earning abilities can be limited. But again, there are lots of variables in the situation. So I guess there is no black and white situation here, or there is no right or wrong answer here. It's just I'm trying to give you a little bit more insights on it. I think this is it for today, because I think it's already been a lot of information. I will make another video about the corporation and what is the difference between having a corporation versus being and operating as a sole proprietor in Canada, because it's also an important thing to know. And we will go into a little bit more details on how to read contracts and what types of contracts even exist when it comes to people who are self-employed or starting their journey as self-employed people. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below this video. If you have questions in general about business or setup, or some of the information that I've described today needs more explanation and more details, please share that as well. I will be happy to respond, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.